Hello everyone, my name is Mitz, you're back at Phoenix Wright Trust the Justice. So we both know that you know that I know that you know that I know that this is very suspicious right now. You touched the body, you moved it around, you propped the kid against the wall for whatever reason, and the knife was loose, so I'm imagining you did something else. Something's just not quite right here. What do you say for yourself? After the murder lot, I went to check on the student. Went over to the boy to see if he was alright. I was surprised that it was Lyle Snitch that was cradling in my arms. There's nothing I could do, so I put him against the wall. With that, I head to my office. Okay, that was short and concise. So you approached the student to see if he was alright? Yes. I know preserving the crime scene is important, but I can't ignore the situation when a student looks to be in trouble. I suppose not. Yeah, I just have both of you have the same exact voice, and I don't know how to remedy to that. I'm not versatile, my voice is, oh yay. Okay, maybe that voice would be good. You were just worried about the safety of a child after all. Mr. Wright, a word of warning before you cross-examine the witness. Oh, please don't tell me pressing is gonna be bad. If you feel certain to question his actions, you better make sure you have a good reason. Yes, Your Honor. What does the judge mean by that, Nick? It means I better find something wrong when pressing his statements. Otherwise their gooses are cooked. Gooses, you said. Just another day in court, I guess. You know the half of it. Was he alright? Murder left, I went to check on the student. I went over to the boy to see if he was alright. I was surprised that it was Lyle Snitch I was cradling in my arms. Cradling. There's nothing I could do, so I put him against the wall. I'm more curious with against the wall, but hopefully it doesn't do anything. So you were the one who placed the body against the wall? Yes. I'm sorry, but I didn't feel right to leave him on the ground like that. It's the least I could do for not being able to stop this terrible crime. There isn't any need to blame yourself, Mr. Oates. What happens, happens. Apparently in most despicable ways, I suppose. But I still wish there was more I could have done. I wonder if I should ask for more details. I don't know. It's to press statements if there was a risk involved. Should listen for anything that sounds off and point it out. Okay, so pressing further, it's like, you know, that sort of thing. Let's see. The murderer left. I want to check on the kid. Okay. Hopefully pressing further is the only thing that penalizes you. So you left the scene when you showed up. You're sure? Yes. Okay, what was that? As soon as I came into the hallway, he stopped what he was doing and left. What was he doing when you entered the hallway? Seems he was looking for something with this person. As what he was harboring for, I do not know. I wonder if I should ask for more details. Just nothing really odd. Not safe to press statements, there's risks involved. Anything that sounds off and point it out. Yeah, I went over to the boy to see who's alright. It sounded like we're gonna find anything here, but to be sure. When you approached the victim, was he alive or had he already died? Afraid it was too late. I noticed a knife sticking out from his back. There's nothing I could do for him. The knife hit the heart and lungs, it says in the autopsy report. It's unfortunate, but this life was a life that could not be saved. Trip of fate that has befallen a child so young. The judge meant to say fate. Faith? Oh. He seems pretty proud of what he said, so I won't correct him. I don't know. Anything sounds off. I'm surprised it was Lyle Snitch was cradling my arms. Okay, this might be the place. You were surprised? Why is that? Well, in all honesty, I didn't expect to see the boy late after school. Yeah, it's like 8 o'clock. Who else would be that late? It was hard to tell if it was Lyle or not. But when I got a good look at the boy, I'm sure it was him. So after you confirmed it was Lyle Snitch, you placed him against the wall? Yes, that's right. So I went to see who was killed. I should ask for more details. Nothing wrong. Not safe to press. Nothing I can do, so I put him against the wall. After that, I headed to my office. You went to your office so you can call the police, right? Yes, after I put the victim down, I headed straight for my office. I was still shocked by what happened, but I managed to call the police. I suppose that explains everything then. The police arrived, the defendant showed up not long after. Yeah, they're both in the same place. The way things sound, the judge must be even sure about his verdict. I had something in the testimony that sounds off, somehow. It sounds like a good testimony, Nick. Yeah, off the top of my head, it kind of is. A good testimony is usually bad for us. I'll only be able to find something contradicting when I press him. You also have to watch out. You can't press too hard unless we're sure there's something fishy with the statement. Right, if I'm not careful, there's a penalty waiting for me. Over to the boy to see if he was alright. Wait, I have a question. And I put this to the boy at the school. It was hard to tell. It was hard to tell if it was Lyle or not? Look at his red hair! I could look at the boy, I'm sure it was him. Wait, didn't you say before you were down the hall? Like, just from the sound of it, if the crime happened on the floor below, you heard a scream from Lyle, you went downstairs and looked across the hallway, and you saw Mr. Jacobs rooting through his stuff, and you immediately saw him flee down the hallway into a classroom, but you didn't know who the victim was, even though he was the most troubled student, so obviously you would know him? Mr. Oates, can you elaborate more on what you said? Sorry, what do you mean? Well, you said it was hard to tell the boy in the ground was Lyle. Why is that? The witness happens to be the assistant principal, in case you forgot. He doesn't remember one face from a school of thousands of kids. I agree. It would be difficult to discern one student from a large school. But our victim happens to be a special student. Very special needs, and not that way. So far, Lyle has earned a reputation of being the school problem child. It's a great talent to have, apparently, then. Like that, but this witness knew a lot about the victim. So what can you tell us about Lyle? Wish I could say good things about him, but I can't. Lyle was a troublemaker and a delinquent. So he was a bad kid? I'm afraid so. I just say bad things with the children, but Lyle was one of the worst. Yep. Mr. Oates, I'm sure you would have been able to tell right away if it was Lyle or not. Red hair, blood red, or pink blood, I don't know. You were, after all, keeping a close eye on his behavior. So why is it that you were not able to tell who was it first? Hold your horses there, you. Aren't you being a little too picky, Mr. Wright? Being nitpicky is my job. We gotta get down nitty-gritty details, because we gotta look out for those small crumbs and dust and details that the janitors have missed in this floor, right? But they certainly haven't gone down to the D1 and D2 just yet, haven't they? Yuck. What point are you trying to make? I have to agree with Mr. Hawk. If you're so certain there's a problem with not recognizing the boy at first glance, then please tell us why. It does seem like a stretch, Nick. Do you think it's a big deal if you didn't recognize Lyle? Right now, I'm not too sure myself. Well, this thing does seem off. You need to take a closer look to see who the victim was. I'm really going on a limb here, but if I can back up my theory with evidence... Hello, Mr. Wright, you can explain to us. Why do you think the witness wasn't able to recognize the student at first? He didn't recognize the thing was the hallway. It was dark in the hallway. I think it was that. There wasn't anything in the way of recognizing the victim that night, so that can only mean one thing. The lights were out in the hallway. The lights were out? Well, that has to be the only explanation. The lights in the hallway must have been turned off. The lights were off. What's your point? The lights were off at the time of the murder. You wouldn't have been able to recognize the victim. At least not first. Very well. Once the lights were off, what would you do to turn them on? How would one go about turning the lights back on? Maybe flipping a switch? But not in this case. Are you gonna say that? If you don't mind me asking. You flip a switch to turn the lights. Duh. Exactly. All you would need to do is flip a switch to turn on the lights. It's just a simple thing to do, it hardly warrants thought. Yes, in fact, that's what I did. I noticed if it was Lyle at first because the lights were off. So I went to turn the lights on in the hallway. So simple as that. Suppose the defense was trying to look too hard to find a contradiction. It seems they were. You shut your jibber jabbers, you. As simple as that? I don't think so. Well, not in this case, at least. What? What do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? What I mean is, Mr. Oates couldn't have turned on the lights without this. Mr. Key, come to thee. Are those keys? No, they're, bees. Yes, these are custodial bees. Among these, one of them is called a light key. A light key? How do you open a light bulb? With a hammer. Is there a key that opens the judge's head to place a brain in? The light key is used to turn on and off the lights in the hallways of the school. Ah, I see, says the blind man. However, the only ones who possess this certain key are the custodial staff. Mr. Oates, what about you? Do you have a light key in your possession? He was lying about his assistant principal position. It all makes sense now. Oh, you have a comb over. Order? Oh, God. Hold on a minute. When the police arrived at the scene, the lights were on. Yet Mr. Oates admitted moments ago the lights were off. The fact that he didn't have a light key to turn the lights casts doubt in his testimony. And by that logic, he couldn't tell if who the culprit was. The lights were off when the crime was committed, and the witness locked the key to turn them on. But the lights were on when the police arrived. Quite the puzzling predicament. Maybe... What is a witness? It's just, perhaps the lights were turned back on. I was calling the police. What do you mean by that? Well, I did not call them right away. You see, after I found the body, I was a bit shaken at the time. Shaken? Wait, the lights were turned back on with a light key? But first off, it comes with two questions then. Because Mr. Dix came, right when the police came. He came down the stairs and saw the police. The police questioned him a bit, then was immediately arrested. But you saying you were there the whole time? Okay. Took me a while to get hold of myself. I'm not sure how long. After I made the call, I took another look into the hallway. Noticed that the lights were on. No one able to turn them on at the time was the custodian, Mr. Diggets. Hugh. Well, we're not talking about Hugh, fanboy, right now. Why would he do that? Well, I was on the floor at first, and a little bit of blood as well. Perhaps I came back to clean up some of the mess left behind. After he saw you? What? There wasn't any blood on the floor when the police arrived, right, Mr. Hawk? Apparently there was on the wall. Wait, oh, you're going with the whole fact of that? Wait, my first question is, did you see a custodial cart in the hallway? That was my first question. My next question is, if you're saying, like, the custodial cart wasn't there, are you saying it was hidden in a classroom? Because sufficient planning. And if he wasn't expecting anyone else to come downstairs, or anyone at all to come see, why would he hide the custodial cart? Like, right then, before anything happened. You didn't see anything in the hallway, right? And you just made a quick call and came downstairs. Ugh. Besides, why would he clean up a bloodstain when you already put the victim's body up against... When you probably already put the victim's body in the wall? So why get rid of bloodstains if, you know, there's no reason to? I mean, the only reason you would clean up bloodstains is to hide where the real body was... I see. Now that you mentioned it, the report I got said there was no blood in the ground. The test we performed didn't show that there wasn't either. So, it's either they just... Here's the thing. And, to get rid of any kind of trace of bloodstain, I think you actually need to use peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide. That basically gets stains out of, like, basically anything. Like, go ahead and see, like, hydrogen peroxide you use to, like, you know, clean up infected wounds and, like, cuts and scars and all that. And literally you can pour some on a bloody towel and it can clean up faster. And also, sorry about that, I'm just messing with the clip right now. Well, Sherman is quite the cleaner. The trivial amount of blood on the ground. Cleaning that mess would be easy for him. Why? This also explained his reappearance in C building. After cleaning up the mess in D1, he attempted to gain his alibi out of Mr. Fanboy. Then came back downstairs, disposed of the body. After he already saw someone find the body in D1. that doesn't make sense, really? Everything seemed to be explained. It sounds like we found the truth. I don't believe it. And what was it? Did the police look through all the rest of the classrooms? Wait, no, they did, because they mentioned before there's like entrance and exits in all the classrooms, and yet the custodial cart was not any of them. And it's built on a hill as well. It's built on a hill, and there's there's exits out of each individual classroom. We have to go downstairs for it. Okay, it kind of lines up, but I'm still holding onto the tile, just thinking about that now. All I mentioned to do was strengthen this testimony. Objection. Wait 1 second. What is it, Mr. Wright? The witness isn't done yet. He still has some explaining to do. What are you going on about? Surely you must have noticed, Mr. Hawk, with your very 2020 eyesight as it was apparently his last time. Your eyesight's on 2020. Mr. Oates said that the lights were off when the murderer fled, and that it was Mr. Jiggets that he saw. But how would he be able to tell if it was the defendant with the lights off? Yeah, that's what I was going for earlier. Order? Order? Defense has made quite an enlightening point. No pun intended. Keep the puns attended, okay? Anyone who says puns are bad and any kind of jokes, I hate you immediately. Do not discriminate against the jokes. This happened several times before. I'll discriminate against people who don't like jokes, okay? All you people are dead in my book if you don't like jokes. Mr. Oates, what have you to say for yourself? Are you quaking your little oats? Seems like you managed to grab into something vital. Mr. Oates? Well, there wasn't enough light in the hallway. The teller was running away from the cuisine. The clean hallway was enough to convince me that it was Mr. Jiggets, who was responsible for the murder of that, and some other things. Like what? Other things? Looks like we'll be hearing more testimony from the witness. Tell us what made you assume that it was the custodian who committed the crime. Very well. It had to be Sherman. Even though it was dark, I'm sure it was Mr. Jiggets that I saw. Noticing me, he had ran away into the dark. As I checked on Lyle, I noticed the murder weapon in his back. By sitting him down, I ran to my office, as you already know. After making the call, I looked into the hallway to see if anything had changed. I noticed that the lights were on, and that the floor was cleaned. The only person who could have done this, sad to say, is Mr. Jiggets. Yeah, but I don't completely buy that part, though. Because, what was it? You didn't see him at all, and if you say he cleaned the bloodstain, but not touch the body, why would they clean the bloodstain then if you're not going to do anything with the body then? It made sense when you were talking about before, but since you didn't say anything about seeing him again, then yeah, no. Fuck off. As far as circumstances go, the only person who could have committed the crime was Mr. Jiggets. This testimony looks bad for us, Nick. We have to find something here or it's over. I don't have any intention of giving up. Giving up's for wimps and losers. Well, too bad I'm a loser then. It may seem like a convincing testimony. I'm sure Mr. Oates is still hiding something. Now then, let's proceed with the cross-examination. Also, it just came to mind, but I didn't say it just then, but the knife. I was gonna say, besides the bloodstain, which I basically already just talked about why that doesn't make sense, if you're talking about the knife itself, the whole, like, I guess initials on it, then, like, you can't really prove it was that either, because, like, literally, it's just a handle of a knife that has, like, two people's initials engraved on it. It could literally belong to anyone, even other students. And, you know, and I don't know how many students are involved in the school, but, like, if there's, like, a student here in the middle of the night who, you know, like, you know, at 8 in the goddamn, like, night, then what's to say there wasn't another student here, or, like, you know, someone stole another student's knife or something like that and just used that? Had to be Sherman. You know it's dark. I'm sure it was Mr. Jiggets that I saw. After noticing me, he ran away into the dark. Let's go from there. Where exactly did the assailant run off to? It's a dead end down D1. He has nothing on the left side. You can only go into one of the classrooms. Did he go in the farthest away classroom? Also, it would be too dark to see anyone down the hallway. True, there's no exit in the hallway itself. However, each classroom has a door that leads to the outside. It'd be easy for the custodian to get into the classrooms, any of them. And as we know, he has keys that allow an opening door in the building. Mentioning those keys again is going to help me in any way. Yeah. So I checked on Lyle and noticed the murder weapon in his back. What did you notice when you examined the body? Well, it was still dark in the hallway, but the light from my office helped me see things clear enough to deduce who the victim was. Wait, what? Wait a second. Your office is on the second floor. Okay, it was you. I also saw a custodial knife. How do you know it was a custodial knife? Sticking in the back of the vial. Considering there was little light in the hallway, so it wouldn't be too hard to make out these things you mentioned. What did you say, Mr. Wright? Yes. If I heard what I think I heard, I think we have a chance to turn things back in our favor. Your Honor, I'd like to have what the witness said amended to testimony. Very well. Mr. Oates, if you would please add this new information to testimony. Of course. Notice the custodial knife sticking out of Lyle's body. How did you know it was a custodial? So, you noticed that it was a custodial knife sticking in the victim's back. That's quite revealing. What do you mean by that? Take a look at the blade in the knife. As it was pointed out earlier in the trial, the edge is flat and horizontal. It's a pretty defining feature of the custodial knife. What's your point, Mr. Wright? My point all comes down to this. The knife was sticking out of the back of the victim. All you would see is the handle. Therefore, it would be impossible to tell what kind of knife the murder weapon is. And the murder weapon was loose. So my next question is, if you knew what the knife was, that means you took it out. For what reason? Are you gonna say, like, you just took the knife out just from, to say that what is it? There's these kind of people who just, like think, if you take the knife out of, like, someone's body, like, gets rid of the wound or something like that, like, I guess in a fit of thing, get rid of the source of anguish? No, please, don't do that. That's the thing. Okay, someone's calling me, don't worry about it. But when there's a knife embedded into someone, leave it in there until the police or the ambulance come, because as the other games mentioned before, and I think even this case I think mentioned before, the knife acts as sort of plug for the blood, and I'm pretty sure you don't want, like, the victim to be, like, bleeding out to death. So leave it in as much as it is, and just, try to do your best you can afterwards. If you take the knife out, then just, just cover the wound with a cloth and press down it to apply pressure, and just wait for the police to come. And first aid tips of the day. What is the meaning of this? Mr. Oates, the knife was in the back of the victim. How did you know that the murder weapon was a custodial knife? Please, there's obviously a simple explanation for this. You must have noticed it was a custodial knife by its handle. You remind you that it was dark in the hallway? You couldn't have seen it clearly. There's only one way you could have. What? And also, what was it? Didn't he also just say, like, the lights came back on after he propped the victim against the wall? And also another thing, why would the police tell him what the knife was? Just the fact that he was stabbed with a knife, right? Yeah. Think you have the answer, Mr. Wright? That's right. There's only one way. If it makes sense something. Yes, Mr. Oates? Mr. Wright? You seem intent on finding fault with my testimony? I feel I must say something lest you get the wrong idea. What is it? Assistant Principal Homicide High, I'm devoted to the children. Devoted. There's no reason on earth for me to ever harm them. I hope when you come up with your answer, you keep that in mind. What do you think he means, Nick? I think he's trying to tell me he never killed any of his students. I don't know, Nick. Do you think we should believe him? I'm not really sure. Better think hard on this. What Mr. Oates really did that night. Well, Mr. Wright? Very well. I believe this is what happened. Stabbed and killed. Stab but didn't kill. I think you did stab but didn't kill. I don't believe Mr. Oates would go out of his way and murder Lyle. What was it? Like, I think the biggest telling point is just the fact he says the culprit was rooting around the victim's belongings, which, to be honest, makes no sense for, like, a made-up story. Because what was it? If he was the killer, and the big motive here was just the victim was a prom child, was making the school look bad, that would probably just be the biggest reason, so why add a story about someone else, like, having a couple, like, rooting around in their belongings? And literally, that was a big motive, and you wanted someone, like another staff member, like a custodial staff, like Mr. Jiggets to be pinned on, you would just say the same motive that you have, right? That since Lyle was a prom student, and the police think that was the big reason Mr. Jiggets killed him, because of making such a mess, after doing it day after day, then yeah, you could just do that motive on him, but why say that small detail? I don't believe Mr. Oates would go out of his way to murder Lyle. He even told us that he was making progress with the victim's behavior at school. However, there have been too many contradictions in his testimony today, which leads me to believe that he's hiding from this court. Hiding something? Mr. Oates, you knew that it was a custodial knife that took the victim's life. And the reason for that is because you were the one who put the knife in his back. Wait a minute. We didn't kill a student, but placed a knife in the back. Exactly. The killer must have fled with the murder weapon. So that means the murder weapon was another thing that's flat and horizontal? If it was... let me read that again, the autopsy report. Silent heart and lung, estimated time of death, knife was found in its back. They mentioned before, like Gumshoe mentioned it was the same exact weapon as before, there was no doubt, but if it was a different thing, it matched up, so must be another knife that's horizontal and flat. A lot more in this classroom? Like, courtroom? Classroom, huh? Do you have an idea of what you're proposing? The murderer fled with a knife, then the victim would be bleeding out. And the mess that Mr. Diggins had to clean would have been larger than we thought. Putting all this on D1 would have been impossible. That is true. If the assistant principal went out to find a knife, a large puddle of blood would have been made in the hallway. And that's my point. A large mess like that could not have been made on D1. The police would have performed the necessary tests and report if there was. If that is true, then there can only be one explanation. The murder did not occur in D1 like we all thought it did, D2. And that small detail I mentioned before about you saw the victim's body in the light of from your office. Your office on the second floor. What? The murder happened somewhere else? Unlikely story. That's the only way to explain the lack of blood in the first floor. Very well. Then why don't you show us where the real murder scene is? Point out to us on the map. Yes, please tell us on the map where the murder really happened, Mr. Wright. Very well. No problem at all. There's only one place where Lyle could have been murdered. D2. Murder occurred here. Are you just here to waste our time? You pointed D1. Do you think the murder happened somewhere else? If you let me finish and not jump ahead, like a jump rope, I mean, this is a high school, not a preschool, so don't worry about that, okay? I'm not pointing towards D1. What? What? Yes, I'm pointing to the same building, but the location I'm referring to is D2. We had chess metaphor as the last case, so why not bring it back here? Pawn to D1. Move back to D2. The murder occurred on the second floor? Are you insane? What makes you... It's the only place where Lyle could have been killed that night. He was killed in the second floor D building. So the murder really happened upstairs? It had to, and Mr. Oates knows I'm right. Finally solving the mystery as to why there was so many contradictions before. Now it's to prove it. Mr. Oates, do you have anything to say about this? Well... Wait a moment, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Well, I mean, you jumped ahead, so I mean, why not get ahead of ourselves? What is it, Mr. Hawk? Mr. Wright, you've been to the second floor, correct? Yes, I was there. I have a report here from Detective Gumshoe. I went back to the school on my request to do a second investigation. Just in case, he told me the condition of D2. He said there wasn't anything out of the ordinary on the floor. That means what? Mr. Wright claims the killer ran with a murder weapon. As has been said before, a large puddle of blood would have been left behind. I suppose you happened across such a mess the detective overlooked? No, because it was cleaned up. But we certainly picked up something from the trash. definitely wasn't any large puddles of blood when we visit D2. That's the case. And that means we didn't see any blood stains on the second floor. But Mr. Wright, you said... I'm not done yet, Your Honor. Certainly there was no sight of blood on the ground when we visited D2. If that's the case, there is a simple explanation. A simple explanation that Mr. Oates provided us. What do you mean? If there wasn't any blood on the ground, that someone must have cleaned it up. The only person who could have done that would be Mr. Oates. And why is that? Why would this witness need to clean the floor in D2? Murder, according to your witness, took place on the first floor. He wanted us to think this, so he moved the body down to D1. So you tend to accuse Mr. Oates of tampering with a crime scene? Very well, play with this game of yours. Chance of checkers, I'm good with either. According to your theory, Mr. Oates also cleaned the floor in D2, correct? Yes. But to go so far to clean a large mess would require cleaning supplies. Apostrophe, yes. There's some custodial closets in the building. Require a custodial key to get into. So then, he would have gone all around the school to find something to clean the mess up with. Yes, and time would not have been on his side if he had the large mess to clean. Well, Mr. Wright, I'm sure you now realize what we were proposing is impossible. You're now just realizing, I thought the Hughes testimony entirely was pointless, but inadvertently, I think it proved our case more. You know why? Because we didn't point out the fact, if we didn't go deep into Hughes' lies, or his misunderstandings at the very least, that's what it seems like, and pointed out that custodial card was missing, if we didn't say it at any other time, as opposed to anything to help our case, they would just think, you know, that's just what the defendant would tell us, right? But since we're saying it since we're saying it like that, we got you now. There's no way the murder occurred in D2. I wouldn't write off my explanation just yet. Mr. Oates got lucky and found this while looking for something to clean the mess. And what a lucky coincidence it is. Mr. Oates went to C building and came across the answers to all his problems. The custodial cart. He found a cart? Mr. Dickens said that during his work in C building, his cart went missing. He contributed to this fact by not noticing it. So, who do you think made off with the custodial cart then? Mr. Oates, each of those custodial cart. I choose you! Not so fast. You still haven't explained where the knife came from. You know? Would the witness have to go out of his way to find one? Not necessarily. He should explain to us that he keeps most of his equipment on his mob cart. I had almost all my equipment in it. Didn't think about it till now, but I'm sure someone made off with it. Why would someone take your cart without telling you? Beats me, kid. It's the cart that had custodial supplies in it. We've already heard that Mr. Dickens had a spare knife on him. He must have left another one in the cart. So Hugo's testimony was more beneficial than we thought at first glance, and ow, okay. I was messing with a clip, and I was messing with my mouth, and I clamped on my lips. Okay, don't worry about that. I like messing with items, and I just did it to hurt myself. Oh, I do this to myself all the time. Almost choking at dice, and now this. God damn it. I believe things are starting to make sense. God. Not likely. Mr. Hawk? Tell me, Mr. Wright. You didn't happen to come across the cart, did you? No. Uh-oh. We didn't exactly bring it with us, Nick. We can't even fit in our pocket. That too, but it's... I don't know. Where even is it? I know. Mr. Dickens only told us about it. I see. By you chattering with your assistant, you haven't a clue where it is. It has to be somewhere. Where? Maybe it was hidden. Mr. Oates couldn't risk bringing the cart anywhere else, and I've seen custodial carts before. Or at least, like, I've seen a mop bucket before. Those are big, and if it's a custodial cart, then it's even bigger than that, so you can't hide it in plain sight. It has to be hidden completely. So maybe it's... Well, Mr. Wright, was there, in fact, a custodial cart used that night? And if there was, where it could have gone? Yes, I believe the cart is somewhere in the school. What was that? Okay, parentheses. I'll have to use the map to show where the custodial cart might be. Okay. Well, please show us where the custodial cart is in the map. Okay, since Here's the thing. Hugo was also in building C, okay? If he was running around there, and he looked into other classrooms of the art wing, as I think Hugo mentioned, so doesn't that mean that he didn't see the custodial card at all, not even the other classrooms? So it couldn't be in there, and if it wasn't the D1 classrooms, because the police said they looked through all of there, doesn't that mean it's in... I don't even know if it shows on the map, so... I don't think it's showing the map, so it has to be in D2. The car was hidden over here. There. She's getting desperate. Okay. So I can't be in the middle of the hallway. If you're thinking logically, this guy really needs to line up. Let's be serious here. I think it has to be in D1. I think in the office. But I don't think the office is showing up on here. Wait. The staircase is right there. I thought this was the staircase. Oh boy. The custodial card is here. That small room? What room is it? That is the assistant principal's office on D2. I swear to God, he's not assistant principal. I'm saying it today. I die. This doesn't make sense why there's 4 assistant principals for each building when the school is failing. Since the investigation was set in D1, I'm sure the police never checked upstairs. And Gumshoe, like from the investigation report, he said he didn't see anything on blood stains in D2. Just doing a quick cursory look. With another place to hide the cart, the witness had to hide it there. And plus, it would be locked too, wouldn't it? Besides, we saw you coming out of there yesterday, Mr. Oates. You too? What are you doing here, Mr. Oates? I forgot my keys in my office here. I have them now, so nothing to worry about. See you later, then. Okay. I find it very unlikely that you forgot your keys in the office. You already left the school before, saying you were going to a meeting. Well, Mr. Oates, the custodial card is in your office, isn't it? It would make sense as well. Because moving the custodial card up and down the stairs, or like outside the school and then looping back around down to the lower floor of the hill, the school, that wouldn't make too much sense for a killer, wouldn't it? Because any other way, if Mr. Dickens did do it, he was kind of putting a lot on the line of doing that. Even though it was the middle of the night, there was other staff members there as evidence of the assistant principal being there. So, Witness, is this true? Objection! More far-fetched conclusions. What? Mr. Hart doesn't know when to give up, does he? He's no quitter, that's for sure. What does he have up his sleeve this time? If a custodial card is found in the assistant principal's office, it means nothing. The murder still could have taken place in D1. Okay. To clean the mess in D1, defendant could have left the card in the D2 office. Which means your theory that the murder took place in D2, nothing but mere conjecture. My next question is, if he left the custodial card in the assistant principal's office, why did this Mr. Oates guy not mention that too? After, like, we brought up the custodial card missing? Just now? Doesn't make any sense. And why did he mention to us when he was leaving his room? That doesn't make any sense either. If the custodial card wasn't there in the office, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It sounds like you have no way of proving your case. Yeah. Well, that's where you're wrong, Buckaroo, because we let this thing run out so we can present a certain purple piece of evidence. The fence seems to run out of steam. I, for one, think that this case has come to its end. No, it can't end yet. But maybe excuse, Your Honor. There's still some work I need to attend to at the school. Yes, we've kept you late here long enough. The witness is through here. I will announce my verdict. What do I do? I know Mr. Rose is connected to the murder somehow. How am I going to prove it? Objection. There has to be one piece of evidence that I can't help prove my case, and I think we have it. I think I know just the one that can help. The fence isn't finished yet, Your Honor. I can prove the murder did take place in the second floor. You can? Please, you must be beyond desperate to make a claim like that. I assure you, Mr. Hawk, this is no joke. I am super desperate, though. Not lying with that. The best part is, some people really care about color coding. I think we were just a thing. Just sure, Mr. Wright, then how do you intend to prove it? I have evidence, Your Honor. Evidence that proves that the murder did occur on the second floor. Very well. Be warned, if your evidence is not persuasive, you will receive a steep penalty. Gotcha. I understand, Your Honor. Or not mess this up. Now then, please show us evidence that proves the murder occurred on the second floor. You know, they say, like, color-coded. You know, this kind of matches your eyes. No, your suit, Mr. Oates. Have a look at this. What's that? A purple dinner plate? What? It's too flat to eat off of. No, this isn't a plate. This is a floor tile from D2. Ah, I see. Why would you eat off this tile, Mr. Wright? I never said anything about eating off this thing. Please notice the bottom of the tile. I was gonna say plate again. God damn it. I'm sure there's something that will catch your eyes. Let's see. There does seem to be something on it. Well, is this cherry juice? No. What? Where did you find this? It was found in a garbage can. On D2. As Mr. Oates was cleaning the mess on the second floor, the floor tile muzzle came loose due to the victim's bleeding. The blood seeped into the cracks in the floor and loosened the tile. Wait. How are you even sure this is the victim's blood in the tile? All we need to do is have the blood analyzed, unless they can tell me that someone else is injured that night, and carved an entire tile on the ground. Turns out that the blood belongs to our victim, Lyle Snitch. And I'd say we're certain that the murder did take place on D2. Check. Mate. No! Mr. Oates? Yes, Your Honor. The defense has proven that the murder occurred on D2. Yet all this time, you insisted it happened on the first floor. How do you respond to this? It's true. Everything the defense has theorized is true. I cleaned the mess on D2 and brought the body out to the first floor as well. I can't believe it. I was right. What about the murder itself? Did you kill the boy? No. That I did not do. There's no reason for me to commit such an act on a student. So you really didn't kill the student. But then, who did? Mr. Oates, why would you do this? How could you? Why would you? I'm sorry, Mr. Hawk. You know, I kind of thought Mr. Hawk told Mr. Oates what to say today. But he looked just as shocked as we are. Yeah, the first time I've seen him look so pale today. He must have really trusted Mr. Oates to give an honest testimony. Huh. I believe we need one more testimony from you, Mr. Oates. And this time, we want to hear the truth. Understand. But I think we'll leave this off here. Because I thought this, like, I would get this all done in just, like, this whole last half of the trial in one, as making this episode longer, but we'll leave this off for next time. Because, oh boy, things are running low on time. And, oh boy, we'll figure out exactly what his plan was at the beginning, which I'm still mostly concerned about why you would do all that next time. So, what a fun time watch as I am playing this. I'll be seeing you next time, what time it may be, and I all hope you have a fantastic day.